Welcome to the Church Communications Podcast. We want to help you become a church communications expert. We understand it's a challenging and ever-changing role because we worked in the church too, which is why we built a community of over 30,000 church leaders that are ready to support and cheer you on. Your hosts for the show are Katie Allred, Kenny Jahng, with special guest host from the church communications team. They're here to help you and equip you to better reach your community. We'll talk shop with practitioners, professionals, and communications experts about what's working, what's not, and what's next.
Welcome back for another episode of the Church Communications Podcast. My name is Abby, and I serve as the Director of Events and Membership over here, and I am super excited about today's episode. On with me today is Julie, who we're so glad to have joining us again. Julie has really been just sharing so many helpful tips and teaching us how to streamline all of our church processes. Thank you, Julie, for being back with me today.
Yeah, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Always fun with you, Abby.
We do. We always have fun. I love our conversations. We always have a good time. And today we're going to be discussing volunteers. And so I'm really excited to get into that. And I think this is an important episode because I've been hearing from some people lately. This isn't really based on like data or research. This is just from some different churches that I've had the opportunity to speak with lately. They're finding that a lot of people who come to the church as visitors and then eventually get plugged into the church and start attending a small group or coming to Sunday school or coming to events or whatever is often a result of volunteering. So that a lot of times people's first step after visiting a church is they say, okay, well, I'll just volunteer for something. You know, it's like low commitment. You know, they come to one volunteer thing. And that's often where they meet someone who plugs them into a ministry, plugs them into a small group. So volunteering it's a super important topic for us to be talking about today.
Yeah. That's a great point. And it is reminiscent for me of it's sort of indirect, right? It's less focus, I'm coming in and there's less focus on me. And it makes me think of, as a parent, having raised two boys who are now adults. They're still my boys. But that was always, people would always talk about it. Driving time is a great time to really have discussions with your kids because you don't have to look each other directly in the eye. And it's just a little bit indirect and therefore feels a little bit less threatening, and people are a little more willing to share then. And so I think that's a great point about the volunteering, that it's a little bit less direct, a little less the whole focus is on me, and I can kind of get to know you and your culture and what's going on and what people are like here. So I think that's a great point to share.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little less like intimidating instead of just like walking into a room of, a Bible study of people who are already all friends and already know each other. You show up to like a planned volunteering event, you're going to have an assignment. They probably have someone who's going to be coming alongside you and teaching you how to do the job or the role or whatever that you're doing.
Yeah.
It's planned out, right? And you have a start point and an end point. You know what you're doing all the way in between. So it's a really good way to get connected. And like you said, just to sort of feel out the culture and the vibe of the church. I think that's a super, super good way to get people connected.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so as we get into it, we're talking specifically about Sunday volunteers today, but your software PlanHero works super well for any kind of volunteer signups, I believe, right?
Absolutely. And really, with what we were just discussing, that is really a great way, like to do some with your outreach ministries to bring people in. Hey, we're going to go down and work at the homeless shelter. Do you want to come with me? Blah, 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 and kind of get to know people. Where with the Sunday volunteers, that might, that's kind of one more step in the door, literally and figuratively, I think. But software works great either way. And with the Sunday volunteers, it would be more things like, hey, we need ushers every Sunday, again, depending on what your church is like, formal, traditional, less traditional, more informal. But greeters for sure, you're going to have every Sunday, probably no matter what. Childcare is another one. And I actually saw something recently on church communications where someone was saying, hey, we're having a lot of trouble getting volunteers for our childcare. And, that's changed from when I was a kid. My sisters and I would do it. Sometimes because maybe we didn't want to sit through the sermon, admittedly. But, yeah, I was sort of like, well, how small are the kids going to be? Is this going to be a diaper situation? Or so, but we had a pretty good time playing Duck, Duck, Goose with the kids, and a few other more focused activities. But anyway, you certainly need to have those books there. And my point was that's changed a little bit because I think everybody, tend to need to have folks go through hoops and background checks and those kinds of things before one is with children, or allowed to be alone with children or whatever. But you can set up for that, as you go along. So the nice thing is you can have the whole year or just, a quarter at a time or something like that. Hey, fall volunteers, please sign up here. Ushers, maybe readers for scripture reading. I know we've got a synagogue I can think of that does their Haftarah through us every Saturday for temple. And so people, if they want to be readers, they can be readers and sign up and do that. So, it's just, again, the culture of your church. But it's a great way to really, again, create additional engagement within the church so that you are a part of it. You're a part of the service. You're a part of meeting and greeting other folks, and you're engaging with your fellow congregants. So and that's the Sunday part, right? So
yes, definitely. No, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, equally, there's all the stuff external to that. Again, not so much the outreach ministries, but it takes a lot to make a church run. And again, depending on the size of your church, you may have a landscaping crew that comes in that you pay for, or you may have that be a revolving mowing of the lawn, trimming everything, all the gardening. I know my dad used to go and do, I think, he had a couple times a year where he mowed the lawn, and he dragged us girls along for that too. But that, you can easily, that could just be a line item landscaping crew. So maybe that's pulled out of what might be your normal CHMS program and just kind of a separate ministry. And that person's just handling landscaping, and somebody signs up every weekly, hopefully not during service that they're mowing the lawn. But that they are doing that. And then maybe every other week you've got people coming and doing pruning and weeding and all those good things and making stuff look alive and springing for Easter and that kind of thing. So
yeah, that was actually my question. What you just touched on was, I know that some people who are listening are probably thinking, I already have a CHMS, I already have a church management software system in place. Mm-hmm. I don't really need this, or I don't want this if it doesn't directly integrate, or, whatever.
Sure.
But I think there are definitely some benefits to using an additional tool like this, specifically, like you just said, when it's like contained within one specific area or within one specific ministry.
Right. Absolutely. So, yeah. And that kind of, again, that sort of helps to take the burden off of that single church administrator or the executive pastor, just again, depending on how you're staffed, there a lot of churches are, it's the pastor, there might be a youth pastor, maybe not. And then you've got the church administrator, maybe a custodian. I mean, it's, there's all different sizes of churches. So all different needs in terms of our software. And if you do have a full blown, planning center or CCB or something like that, there would definitely be a reduced need because you could handle particularly some of the Sunday service things there, and you probably would want to, but it's awfully nice, again, for things like landscaping. Let someone handle that entire area and run with it. And, again, our software is really inexpensive, and it's just an easy way then to have it. I mean, they set it up once for the year, and it's just it just kind of runs itself. And if someone doesn't show up, you've got the number to call or whatever. And it's like, yeah, that's tall grass. I'm thinking it wasn't mowed last week.
Right. Yes. It's so simple. And oftentimes, like you said, in some of these church situations, there may be only one person who knows how to work the CHMS. Right. And so you don't have to take the time to either train someone how to use that or integrate it, or like you can just hand them this tool, super friendly, like user friendly, super easy to use. Yep. And that's all that it does. And that's all that it needs to do. And it keeps track of everything for you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And same thing, even if you wanted to have some centralized control, then the church admin could sort of own the account, but then, create an event and assign your landscaping person as the co-organizer. And then he or she can set the whole thing up and run with it. And it's running, and the church admin is the backup person as needed. But generally I'm not dealing with that. That's that person's, and away we go. So it's definitely, it makes for an easy way to delegate. And, as we like to say, it creates time for someone, right? Because that maybe had been a big time sink in the past. So now you can get after it and take care of it yourself. So it's a great way to do that. And, another one, and again, this goes back to maybe more traditional churches, but who's in charge of the floral arrangements for each Sunday? I always, remember reading that in the bulletin, so-and-so provided in memory, usually, sadly, of someone. But you could even have, the fee on ours, because we have collect money lists. It could just be, hey, it's $75 every Sunday. So whoever can sign up, and then in the comments area, write the message that you want to have printed at it, in memoriam for so-and-so, or in celebration of something exciting. It could be any of that. But again, it's there, it's a sign up. Everybody knows what's happening, and it's done. So
yeah. And I like that you mentioned you can set it up once and just let it run for the year or for however long, right? Like I can just set this up and it's just sort of happening in the background. I don't have to think about it.
Yep, exactly. Or if you start to notice, hey, we're not getting the participation we need, then grab the link and send it out to the church whole and en masse, and say, hey, it's going to be pretty sad looking up there on the stage. If we don't get some stuff going on, we need some more signups. So, it's easy to get the word out too, then of what you need. So, and that can go on your social media, obviously, as well. Again, just depending on how your group operates. So,
and they'll be reminded, correct? Like, so it's not like, I'm going to sign up January now. I'll sign up for one in October, and I'm obviously not going to remember that.
Exactly. Yeah. And we send 2 reminders, which I'm not sure. I mean, I know a number of the CHMSs don't even send out reminders, but in terms of other sign up tools, I think it's only 1. So we do, and this is meant to sort of echo what you see or reflect what you see on your iPhone. Like if you're using iCal or your Google Calendar, you can have a couple of reminders, and which is good for someone like me. And I like the ones, we have 1 to 5 days ahead, and then 1 to 5 hours ahead. So for me, I like the idea of, okay, 2 days ahead, send out a reminder, because that gives you enough time to take action. Either, oh my gosh, we're out of town, I need to find somebody else, or, oh yeah, I got to get that squared away. And then the one that's right before, so that if, again, like me, your head down and something that's like, oh my gosh, that's in 2 hours, I got to get going. So I do like that. And then when you sign up as a user or a participant, you can elect to receive text messages as well. So if you put in your phone number, then along with the email, you're going to get a text. So we can find you. You will not forget.
See, I need that. I have to if I don't have a reminder on my phone, I'm probably not going to remember to do it. So I set those reminders for myself, and I always appreciate when things that I have signed up for, either like online events or in-person events or whatever. I personally love getting the texts. So I think that's a really cool feature that you guys offer.
Yeah. I think that's been really useful for people. And I think the reason why I'm here is because of reminders right now. So, so it's a good thing. And then the other thing, even though you're setting it up maybe for that whole year, along the way, you can use our message invitees. So you could say, like with regard to the landscaping crew or something, hey, you guys are doing an awesome job, or hey, just for moving forward, would really appreciate more focus in this area. Some good, wonderful feedback, and maybe a little bit of constructive feedback too. You can be sending that out all the time. And what a nice way, to thank your volunteers as you go. And then you'd use us for a fun potluck or something that you all get together at the end of the year and get together with your team. And they'd all be accustomed to what to do there. So lots of ways to use it, lots of way to, encourage engagement. And like you and I have talked about thematically throughout this, so much of this is about, in my mind, trying to engage every person.
Yes.
So again, like maybe you love flowers, but you've got crummy knees like I do. So getting down on a flower bed might not be cool, but I could go pick up, flowers at Home Depot and drop them off. So, maybe that's one of your line items, during that certain season when you need that stuff. Hey, come drop this off. And I would feel cool then when I saw the flowers planted there that, I'd be kind of proud of that, or pleased, I guess. So there's all kinds of ways to get people to participate. You just have to spend a little bit of time to organize it and a little bit of thought to think, okay, how can I get the most people engaged in this? What's the widest swath of folks I can hit, who will then be taking pride in our physical, building and grounds, and not that that's the most important thing, but having a little skin in the game, I guess.
Yeah,
so.
Definitely. And I think there's probably someone in your church who, I've found this to be true in churches. There's always someone who like sort of knows and sees about everything. I think it's oftentimes like the admin assistant or like the pastor's assistant who just like knows about everything that's always going on. Go to that person and say, what do we need on Sunday mornings? Because they're probably going to have things in their mind that you wouldn't even thought of, things like, oh, well, there's always this one spot in the church that gets like really overfilled with people, and we need people like directing traffic in the parking lot, or whatever, like just things that you may not think about. Go to that person and add line items for each of those things, because as you're saying, it's a really, really great way to be inclusive and to make sure that everyone does have an opportunity to serve, and that they don't feel like, well, I can't help with, like the big things. Like, I guess I just won't help at all. Like, I think it really is a great way to engage everyone in your church. Absolutely.
And I this is a completely random thought, which is not really germane to the conversation. So psych up, get ready. But I was just thinking about that same person who might drop off the flowers, and for some reason, it's really not germane. But about canning, I was thinking about some of the older females, at least that's what it would have been in my family. Like, I don't know how to can things or to make jam or jelly anymore. And that's a random thing. It's not helping the ground, but it's sort of a volunteer thing. What a cool thing, like, to have some of those great senior women teach the younger generation something like that. And you just do a sign up for it. And if they need supplies, you could have the supplies in there and you all show up and do it. Again, random thought by Julie today, but that's just a fun, weird thing that could engage youth and older folks together in a really cool way. And then, by the way, wrap them up in something super cool from that really creative person, have a sale and donate the money to one of your outreach ministries, or hand them out to the homeless shelters, or, geez, again, sorry, it was a little bit tangential, but it just...
That's what we're talking about. We've been talking about, like how we've gotten a little bit more creative with some of these things coming out of the pandemic. I think churches have had to get more creative. They've had to think about new and different ways, during all those restrictions. And I think some of that's carried through. And actually, I was talking to someone a while back who one of their primary outreach focuses in their church for the year is a garden. They have a church that has like a lot of land. And so there's like a lot of people in the church who love to garden, even some like local farmers. So they grow produce and then donate it to like a food pantry. But adding the canning piece would be a great way to create the community within your church. Like you said, connecting different generations. So maybe they're growing the vegetables, some of the ladies in your church canning the vegetables, donating to the food pantry. I mean, that's creating community inside the church and connecting with the community outside of the church.
Yeah. So, home run, right? Home run. Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for saving me on that, Abby.
There's always a way to bring it back around. I knew where your head was. I was with you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I want to let our listeners know, if you want to see an example of this, like watch a way to set up a volunteer sign-up form, you can go to churchcommunications.com/PlanHero-engage. And we have a free download there, which I'll drop the link in the show notes, of course. But we have a download there. It's a guide to 8 ways to engage your congregation and make your life easier. It's full of super helpful information. And also, Julie's going to share a promo code with you that will also include a free trial. So you can just get in there and start playing with it and figuring it out for yourself. Julie, you want to share that promo code with us?
Yeah, absolutely. So 30-day free trial to start with. So, and we don't require a credit card or anything. So you can just slink away if you want to, but we don't think you'll want to. But you can sign up while you're in bed on your iPad without your credit card. So that's a good thing. That was the premise for us. So, and then once you get started, we have a promo code ChurchComm15, church, and then COMM, all lowercase 15, which will give you 15% off an annual subscription. So it comes down to like maybe a venti coffee at Starbucks once a month. So to save you lots of time. So you can be drinking your coffee, bang out your sign up, and away you go.
Yep, there you go. We will be sure to include all of that information below, and we can't wait to see how you guys use this amazing software to connect with your community and with your volunteers. Julie, thank you so much for being with me today.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Church Communications Podcast. If you want to learn more, join over 30,000 church leaders in our Facebook group at churchcommunications.com/group. If you liked today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave a review. It's the most impactful way you can help us reach more church leaders and equip them to better communicate for the church. Finally, don't forget to check out our website at churchcommunications.com. Thanks for listening.